The dark, cold days got you down? Well, you're not alone. You may be suffering from a condition called SAD. That's right, SAD, or seasonal affective disorder. Clinical social worker Paige Armstrong is here to help us get through it. So nice to have you here.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so first, what is seasonal affective disorder?
Yeah, seasonal affective disorder is a subtype of depression, and so a lot of people know what that feels like. But this is really specific that it comes, its onset usually fall through the end of winter.
Okay.
Or you can actually have what's atypical and come in the spring and into the fall.
Oh, wow. Okay, so if you had to describe visually what it's like for someone with SAD, what would that be?
Yeah, the way I like to describe it, and people sometimes don't even recognize they're walking around feeling this way, but it's like having a brilliant masterpiece painting, but all the colors washed out of it.
Oh.
And so it can feel very blah, and you kind of feel that way more days than not.
Okay.
And you might have a day where you feel really good, but most days you're feeling that, like that washed out painting.
Gotcha. Okay, so how does someone know they have SAD?
Yeah, so some of the signs and symptoms that you want to look for is that there's a feeling of low energy, no motivation, or little motivation, that they aren't interested in activities that they were once interested in. They find themselves so isolating. They don't want to socialize with friends or family. It's just easier to stay in.
Okay. How do you alleviate that?
Yeah, so there's a couple things that you can do for treatment. You can either do medication, some antidepressants. You can also do what they call light therapy. And that's where they have a box that's a light that it
shines light on you?
Yeah, exactly.
Basically? Okay.
Yeah, well, sort of, but it simulates what the natural light would look like.
Oh, okay.
And both of those, of course, you don't want to do without getting the guidance of a physician that would know. And then there's also talk therapy, which is what I do. And that's where we look at the way people are thinking about themselves or what's going on in their lives, and we help them refocus that so they can feel better.
Okay, so do most people come out of SAD in, say, maybe March or April, or could it last all year long?
Yeah, so if it lasts all year long, that's really where you're talking about major depression. But the seasonal stuff is that it will come in the fall and leave in the spring, but that it's reoccurring. So kind of every fall you go through this sort of down depressive feeling, and it lifts in the spring, and then in the fall it comes back around and you go through that again.
Yeah.
So it can be kind of difficult sometimes for physicians to diagnose because somebody may not even recognize that that pattern is happening.
Because sunlight is really important to how we feel and react, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's interesting you mentioned that because that's one of the coping strategies that people can use, and it might sound silly, but from a self-care perspective, it's like make sure you get out in the sun. And if it's been cloudy or rainy for a lot of time or snowy, that people can even say, hey, I'm going to make sure I plan a trip south so that they can get more sunlight. And that can really be a really good effective self-care piece.
All right. I love it. I have to have the sun. I mean, first thing in the morning, those blinds are open. Got to have it. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.